welcome back to another episode of Almost Well Versed. We've got a book podcast talking about mostly books, sometimes movies, maybe a video game. I haven't decided yet, but mostly books. I'm your host, and today I'm very excited, guys. Very excited. We're talking about one of my favorite books with one of my favorite people ever, Dasmir.
Hey, yes, I hear the applause out there.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a great welcome.
Also known as Anthony.
Yes,
on the streets, known as Dasmir.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty excited to be here. I've been listening to the podcast since you started. We've been talking about doing this pretty much since you started.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's weird, it's new, but I'm stoked. Like, let's get into this because
Hell yeah.
This story really got me back into reading and comics just pretty much alone.
So the comic we're talking about today, it's named Saga. We're going to be talking about Volume 1. If anyone's interested in checking it out, there are 9 volumes out, like the trade. That's what you call it, a trade.
Yeah, like a trade paperback.
Yeah. There's 9 volumes out. It's a good time to pick it up because it's actually on hiatus right now. And it's one of those stories where once you start it, you're really just gonna blow through it.
Yeah, definitely. We had the benefit, just like anyone else starting now, that we started so late.
Yeah.
That we just got to binge it all as if it was a Netflix show.
Yeah.
So we got through everything, and now we're just. Well, actually, you're the one who's caught up.
Yeah.
I'm one volume behind, but yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, and it's funny because, remember we caught up until I think that last one, and then I actually read them issue by issue.
Yeah, which is its own cool, it's kind of like waiting every week for the new episode type of thing. You get that feeling, which I missed out on, but we could do that for the next arc.
Yeah, once it comes back.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, what's going on with this? Like, who wrote this? It was, Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, so the author, like you said, his name is Brian K. Vaughan. He's done a lot, surprisingly. When I was doing just a little bit of research for the episode, I just kind of was looking up previous things that he's done. It's funny, though, because the reason why we got into Saga was a recommendation by the comic book store owner, remember? Because we went in there and I was looking for Paper Girls, which is another one. At this point, I wouldn't even say the biggest one anymore. I'd probably say it's Saga. But at that time, Paper Girls was the series he was known for. And so we went, the comic book store didn't have issue 1, and the guy was like, hey, you should probably check out Saga. We've been hearing good things about it. And ever since then.
Yeah, that little does that guy know, he changed our lives. Telling us to start reading this. We got to go back and shake that man's hand.
Really,
for sure.
But yeah, so he's done Paper Girls, which is still ongoing. I'm sad to say that I haven't checked it out, but it's pretty deep. Like, it started before Saga. It's still ongoing. So, I think Saga ended at issue, 58, 59. So Paper Girls is close to 100 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one that he's really known for is a series called Ex Machina, which... Not
related to the movie?
Yeah, completely unrelated to the movie. That's the very first thing I thought of, too. I think that one's finished. And then he also did this comic called Why the Last Man.
Why like a question? Why the last man?
Why, like the letter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why the last man. I also don't know very much about that one, but I mean, when I looked it up, it had good ratings. Like when I looked it up on like Wikipedia and on Goodreads.
Yeah, I mean, once you get hooked on something like this, you want to just go out and find all the other stuff that guy's written.
Yeah.
Or Fiona Staples, like what she's drawn and stuff. That's pretty much like how I bridge into new series is, do I like this guy?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just read everything. Do I like this girl? Yeah, I'm going to do all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so let's talk about the realness. Even though I'm sure those are real, but let's get into Saga. That's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. So if you Google Saga, it's literally going to describe it as a space opera, which is Star Wars meets Game of Thrones.
Perfect.
I would agree with that statement.
Yeah, perfect representation, but also just perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Even when I didn't know anything about it, you hear that, you're like, that's exactly what I want in my life.
Yeah. And so we're gonna, usually in my episodes, they're full of spoilers. We're actually gonna, I really want to encourage everybody listening to go and read this series. It's so good. It's quick. It's a comic, so it's not like you're reading a 1,000-page novel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Read it. So we're going to just kind of talk about generally about the story, and then we'll go into specifics. I'll tell you guys when we get into spoilers, so you can stop listening and go check it out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try our best. We're gonna make sure it's hard because you're so in love with it, you want to talk about everything, but we'll try our best to keep it as vague as possible. Give some disclaimers out there.
Yeah.
But if at any point in listening to us you start getting interested, please read it. Even like, I mean, listen to us, yes, definitely, but it's please read it. It's such a great story.
Yes.
So some characters in this. Let's talk with. You want to start with the main characters, or what do we want to do here?
Yeah. So the story pretty much follows this couple. You've got Alana and you've got Marko, and the story literally starts with them having a baby.
Which is what, like literally having a baby.
Literally, like that's the very first frame in the comic is her giving birth.
Yeah, it's pretty jarring. Talk about a way to like hook you into the action. You know what I mean? And not only is she giving birth, like soon after her giving birth, you start finding out about this war, and it's so much deeper than just like a nice couple here having a child. They're surrounded by devastation.
So the way the world is, right? So you have like the main planet, which is Landfall, and a lot of people come from Landfall, and so you can tell that they're from Landfall because they kind of have like fairy wings.
Yes.
Almost.
Yeah, their monikers are like the wings. That's what people from other planets call them. Yeah. It's kind of like a race of people. Yeah,
like a race.
Yeah.
So you've got the wings from Landfall, and then you have one of their moons. Wreath. And Marko is from Wreath. And so these planets, the planet and their moon, they've been warring for ever.
A long time.
A long time. They've been warring so long to where they were worried about destroying Landfall that they started what's the word?
You mean like where they started fighting elsewhere?
Yeah, like outsourcing their fighting.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a war is happening, but we're gonna go fight on this other planet so we don't destroy our planet.
Yeah, which is not just an interesting kind of like story, like a plot point. What's cool about it too is that you can already tell it's kind of have some political undertones.
Yeah.
With how a lot of the biggest countries, the biggest powers, they kind of do something similar to that too. That's one true. Really fights on their own homeland like that anymore.
Yeah.
Not no one, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So but it's definitely saying something about that,
right?
Which is fun to find those connections.
That's true.
Yeah, and one thing that we didn't say about Wreath, just how Landfall has people with wings. On the Wreath, their race of people have like horns.
Yeah.
They're almost like ram horns. They're different. Some people have like ram or goat or whatever.
Yeah.
But
they're very distinct, very big. You can't hide them.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing that you find out pretty quickly, difference between the two is the use of magic. Because yes, there's magic in the story.
Magic.
If there's magic in it, I'm there. So the people from the Reef, they seem to have some kind of like magical connection, and they have like spells that they do.
Yeah, incantations.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just limited to them, but like that's what you kind of start off with.
Yeah, that's what you see is them. But yeah, so you have Alana. She was I'm assuming everybody at some point ends up related to the war.
Yeah.
And so you have Alana on Landfall, and she's in the army, right? She's a guard.
Yeah. She was. I don't remember exactly what she did, but yeah, she was in the army. Maybe a prison guard. Because I think that's how she met Marko.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Marko for some reason or another he gets captured, and he was like a prisoner of war.
Yeah. For
Landfall, and she was the guard appointed to him.
Right, and so then she's guarding him, and they start hitting it off, and they end up falling in love, and she breaks him out, and so now they're on the run.
Yep, and it's terrifying, not just because there's a war going on, but let's not skip over how there's a lot of like racism and stuff in the story.
Yeah.
So the way those two races of people look at each other is with like vile, disgusting.
They're like, oh, how would she even end up with a horn? Like, she must have lost her mind, or he must have like brainwashed her. Like, why would she willingly go with him?
Yeah, exactly. Like it. So that makes the tension. It's not just. I guess it is more like a high intensity, like Romeo and Juliet, where the two different families.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's where we start. Is them two, when the story starts, they had already escaped. They're on the run. They're both AWOL from their own respective armies.
Yeah.
Alana gives birth, and right then and there, what did they run into? I know that there's definitely some.
Yeah, fighting right off the bat.
Yeah, they basically just have some guards coming after them.
Yeah.
And they get sold out. They were hiding off in a garage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy who owned the garage.
Yeah, like sold them out.
Yeah. So.
And so she literally gives birth, and then they're on the run, like right after. Like baby pops out, and then they're running to get out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the story follows them too. It's interesting because the story is narrated. Like you usually don't have like a narrator, I feel like, in comics.
Yeah, and if you do, normally it's kind of like some omnipresent, just like disembodied voice.
Yeah.
That's not really, it's either that or it's like the main character just thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
But this is a little different because like what makes it different?
Well, the narrator is the baby. Her name's Hazel. So you can assume, that this is her telling the story. That's what she says. It's the story of how my parents met.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and so it's nice because there's little blurbs all throughout. It's not just at the beginning. It's throughout like the whole story. It'll be like her commenting on a thing or, bridging from one main thing to another. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I do like that.
Yeah, it's pretty much like it happens more than just this, but pretty much at the start of every issue.
Yeah.
And at the end of it is normally bookended by her narration, and it's sprinkled out within each issue as well. And it's pretty cool because it gives you that sense of like, okay, like when I first started reading it, I was like, oh, isn't that kind of like a spoiler? Because but they're smart about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, okay, if Hazel's talking, you know that.
She's alive.
Exactly.
At some point.
But, they do a good job of keeping things vague, or she'll kind of like give you a little tease to lead you into what you're either going to see right then and there, or even way later,
down the road.
And they'll call it back.
Yeah, and I will say that I've been rereading this in preparation, for coming on the podcast. And it's been a minute since I read the last issue. Since the last volume, and even in volume 1, like you said, Hazel is already alluding to things that happen way later, and then you have the knowledge, so you're reading it and you're like, oh, that's gonna happen later. They don't know,
Yeah, a lot of dramatic irony like that.
Yeah,
and you get that from her narration.
Yeah.
She right before they get into a situation where they may think it's going to be all right, she already tells you as the reader, this is not going to work out.
Yeah, this is not okay.
Yeah, so it's part of the fun, it's part of the tension. You know? So it really gets you going.
Yeah. I feel like that's as far as we can go with no spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. Aside from that, there's, to kind of give you a brief overview, I mean, there's going to be people hunting them down, whether it's from their planet or army. There's going to be what they call freelancers, which are basically like hitmen. So they show up and become a thing. And then all encompassing with this war are a race of robots.
Yeah.
So you have a race of robots who are aligned with Landfall, right? Wreath is the one that's away.
Right.
Yeah, so you have robot characters, and they're ridiculous.
Yeah, they have screens for faces.
Yep. Like TV screens, pretty much.
Yeah, which is a whole thing in itself.
Yeah, but so if any of that sounds interesting, you like the romance.
Yeah.
You like the fighting. You like you get a lot of political intrigue. If that gets you going, please pick up this. At least pick up the first issue. Give it a shot.
Yes.
It's well worth it.
Yeah, like for people who, I always recommend it for people who are either fans of Star Wars or Game of Thrones, and even though both of those are really different. But if you can get behind Game of Thrones, which isn't like the highest of fantasy, but there is fantasy elements in it, like if you can get behind that, you can get behind Saga.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that we always compared it to is like an anime.
Yes.
That feeling you get from like a lot of the really big, like good popular animes,
you
get a lot of that here.
Yes.
So if you're into that kind of wackiness, but still grounded with emotion and real tension, it's not it gets fantastical, but the toils that they go through
are very human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Including the robots. So I think that's it for our spoiler-free section. I think when we go into the spoiler section, we will try to maybe not go. If we can find things to leave out, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the warning, the disclaimer.
But also, I feel like you said, we're gonna try to keep it vague. But I mean, come on, this is volume 1 out of 9.
Exactly.
So things happening in here aren't gonna be the deepest of spoilers.
Exactly. So it's like this is the one where we're still gonna try to keep it vague as much as possible. But like you said, first issue. But once we get past this one, it's like, are you gonna keep listening without reading? I mean, we're going for it.
Yeah, you know? Listen at your own.
Listen at your own risk.
Yeah, at your own risk.
Yeah, we told you, don't cry about it.
Yeah.
And hey, if you get a little something spoiled, still give it a shot. Like,
yeah,
if that's what it takes to get you interested, I know people like that they need to have that spoiler. Okay,
right,
have at
sure.
it. So,
but kind of like how George R.R. Martin is, how there's just always something happening. Characters die. You know, the script gets flipped. That happens all the time in Saga.
Yeah, and most times you're not ready for it.
Never.
Like, even if something is like teased for it or whatever, you're not gonna.
You know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So
it's still awful.
Yeah, still like get on this because it's a hell of a roller coaster.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's just get right into it, man.
Yeah. Okay. So where do we want to start proper?
Well, we kind of talked about how they met at the very beginning. She's giving birth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she has that baby. Oh, let us mention, they are on a little, comet planet named Cleve.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And Cleve is supposed to be, out of it, right? It's kind of like a neutral ground.
Exactly.
And so that's why they say. So they say. So that's why they ended up there, so Alana can try to have this baby without them literally being hunted. But, like you said, they get sold out, and so as soon as she has that baby, they're running out of there.
Yeah.
And so their whole escape plan of how to get off of Cleve is they heard that there's a rocket ship forest.
Yeah, it's that weird.
Yeah.
A rocket ship forest where the trees themselves
are a rocket ship.
Are rocket ships.
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous to us, but it even sounds ridiculous to them.
Right.
I think it was Marko who says, you're really going to believe that story, but apparently, people said it's real.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going for.
Yeah, so they're trying to find this forest.
I guess around that time, though, when we find out about the whole rocket ship forest, they do in the story cut over to Prince Robot too, and we're kind of we're introduced to him.
Yeah.
Being the prince of obviously of the king robot who's running the whole robot empire.
Yeah.
He's his son, and he's I guess he'd be like a general, something like that.
I guess.
He's out there fighting wars.
Yeah.
And apparently he had just got back from a crazy mission that is really tore him up.
Yeah.
And we find him doing what any soldier really wants to do when he comes back from the war, I guess.
Which is?
He's giving it to his old lady. He's giving it to her. They show it.
Yes.
If that's your thing.
If you ever wanted to see a robot dick, you're gonna see it.
Yeah, exactly.
You definitely see one.
You see them doing it. But even within that encounter that he's having with his wife, right? Yeah. We see on his TV screen, as we mentioned before, they have TV screens as faces.
Yeah.
He had some images of the war he came from flash, almost like emotional trauma coming up, and it already introduces that he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, you're feeling for that, but he is the bad guy.
Technically.
He's looking for our boy and girl. You know what I'm saying? He's looking for Alana and Marko.
Yeah.
That's how they introduce him, and I think his dad tells him. Oh, through a messenger. Yeah. Yeah, it tells him that he has to find these two
and bring them in, right?
To bring them in before he's allowed to actually hang out and chill.
Yeah.
And he was pretty upset about that.
Yeah, because it's he just got back, and then his dad immediately sends him back out to capture Alana and Marko, and tells him he can't come back until he catches them. Yeah,
and he's not happy about that. He just went through hell. But I guess that's what he's got to do, and he knows it. His dad's literally the king. Right. Literally runs the empire.
You can't say no.
Yeah. So after that in the story, once again, after the rocket ship thing, they go ahead and introduce the Will.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, who's one of those freelancers we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
What do you think about the freelancers?
So one of the interesting things about these freelancers are, like you said, they're pretty much hired hired muscle.
Yeah,
Like if you want someone dead, you want someone brought in. They don't have like allegiances to any faction. Nope. Anybody can hire them to do whatever.
If you've seen John Wick,
yes,
you get it.
Yeah. Yes, he's Keanu Reeves.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they're pretty much all Keanu Reeves.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess since he's the main guy, yeah. It's pretty wild.
And so it's funny because all of the freelancers, their names, like their titles, have "the" in them. So this guy, his name is The Will. You get introduced to another freelancer. Her name's The Stock.
Yep.
Later on in the story, you run into more, and they all have the something.
And that's
like the distinction.
Stuff like that. Yeah, like little nicknames and titles like that. That's really my thing when it comes to these fantasy stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, freelancers. They introduce the Will. And he's immediately, that's the first thing we see him do is get contracted to find these two, right?
Yep. So, some rando, right?
So, yeah.
Hires him?
Yeah, I think some lady with the unicorn horn.
Yeah.
See, like, this is, when you talk about Saga, it becomes, the one with the thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he gets contracted, and so we're maybe, 20 or so pages in? And we have the birth of baby that shouldn't exist.
Yeah, like a hybrid mutant baby.
Yep. We have a robot empire chasing these two.
Yep.
And then you also have a John Wick chasing these two.
Yes.
That's how it starts. Hazel herself even tells you that it's a wild way to start your life.
Yeah.
Poor Hazel,
Poor girl, man.
Yeah, so what goes on? So after they introduce the Will...
But yeah, so the Will, he rolls up all badass. He has this nice cape. I love that cape.
Oh, the cape.
He's got it's like baby blue on one side, red on the inside. It touches the floor. It's got a big old badass hood.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it's him.
That's how you know it's him. You can also know it's him based on his companion.
Yes.
That he always has with him.
Yep.
Your favorite.
It is my favorite. The lion cat. So not a lion, but a lying cat.
Like telling lies.
Yes. Yeah. So the lion cat is it's bigger than a regular cat. It's like dog size, but it's blue, it's hairless. But the cool thing about it is whenever somebody tells a lie, the cat will literally say lying. It'll be like lying.
Which is an asset, but also like a detriment too, because it doesn't just, it's not like it's on command. That's just what it does. Right. So even if the Will tells a lie, it'll say lie. So I think you first see it do that when he gets contracted. I think whoever gave him the contract was trying to sell him some tall tale. Yeah. And the lion cat tells him
that she's lying.
Yeah, that's all it says. It's not a talking cat.
No, it just says lying.
So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous and fun, but that's pretty much the Will's introduction and everything about him. After that, we go back to what's the comet planet? Cleve. We go back to Marko and Alana, and they're trying to get to the rocket ship forest.
Yeah, they're just trying to find the forest. They don't even know where the forest is.
That is true. They're just trying to figure out what the hell is it even true? Yeah. If it's not, what the hell are we gonna do? Right. And I think they run into a battle between the two armies on Cleve. Yeah. Which, going back to what we previously said, it was supposed to be a neutral planet. Yeah. And here's this war.
This big old battle that's right in their way of the direction they're trying to go.
Yeah. So they can't go straight to where they think they need to go for the rocket ship force, so they have to go through what is it called?
Isn't that another forest?
Yeah, it's another forest, like a forest of horrors, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is never the kind of detour that you want to take.
So that
endless woods. Sorry.
So the endless woods. Yeah, it's kind of like a no man's land because of, like you said, there's these horrors that everyone talks about where they're pretty much spirits that live there and will fuck you up if you come in there.
That's what everybody knows. Yeah, it's one of those things where some people see it as a superstition. Yeah, but seems pretty legit
maybe
to most people.
Real. Yeah
they even remark on it when they get in there. I forget who, but one of them, I think it was probably Marko, tells Alana's that's not real. Yeah,
they just say that to make people stay away.
Yeah, so they're in there. They kind of get into a little spat. Yeah. They talk it out, and then they're so exhausted. They've been running with this baby
for 3 days.
Yeah, they just gave birth. and they like sit down on a stump.
Yeah, and pass out.
And we kind of get some images of what, you know, some red eyes in the forest.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh man, so the horrors are real.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we're seeing. So that's what they do in the endless woods or endless forest.
Endless woods, I think.
So what goes on? They wake up.
Yeah, so they wake up and they're like, wait, were we sleeping? What's going on? And then another one of my favorite characters shows up. So they get woken up and they're like, wait. And then you just see this big tall bitch roll in, and she has no arms. She's naked, chest up.
She's got 8 eyeballs.
She has 8 eyeballs.
So don't get too excited, guys.
No,
no arms, 8 eyeballs.
And she is also a freelancer, and her name is The Stalk.
Yeah, and it's funny because they kind of show a little bit like she introduces herself as The Stalk, and immediately they know that she's a freelancer just based on the name.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a naming convention. It's like actually in the story that's just everyone will recognize
that you're a freelancer
from that name.
That's true.
So she tells them that she's The Stalk. She tells them that she's there to I guess take the baby. She doesn't even care about them.
Yeah, that's true.
She's like, I'll kill you guys, and my orders are to bring this baby back.
Yeah.
And she, you know, goes alien style on Marko. Her, you know, uses her tongue to stab through his chest.
Yeah.
It's wild. Alana thinks she's gonna do something with like a little.
She's like a little ray gun.
Yeah, like a little ray gun, and then and you know we didn't say this, but the Stalk had like a giant dress.
Yeah. Like skirt.
A skirt, yeah, like a giant skirt, and then whenever Alana pulls the gun out, it's revealed that under that skirt she's actually a spider.
Yeah, so she's a spider lady. She's got 8 arms under that skirt.
8 arms, each one carrying a weapon.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be good times trying to get away from her.
It's not looking good.
Maybe you rather would take the horrors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, she shows up, does her thing, and speaking of the horrors, we hear a noise off panel.
Yeah.
And everyone feels like it's the horrors, including the Stalk. She's actually scared shitless.
Yeah, which was really surprising for Alana because she's like, okay, look, I'm sitting here staring death in the face. You know, the Stalk is here to kill me, and she's scared by these horrors. So,
which is like, she was pointing every single gun and weapon possible at me all at the same time. She hears one noise, and it makes her run. Yeah. So she left them to the horrors pretty much, and figured that the horrors would take care of them. Yeah. And then she'll take the kid. Yeah. After the horrors are done. So that she leaves. The horrors show up, but when we are revealed to what the horrors are, they just look like kids. Yeah. They're just like, kids with like whatever they died. They're ghosts. Right. They're kid ghosts. But whatever they died from, you see the wounds on them. Yeah. So they're not totally normal. I mean, the main girl's missing her like lower half of her body. Yeah, she's just a torso. Yeah. But yeah, those kids show up and mention that they could probably help them. Yeah. And that's how that issue ends. Just out of nowhere. You're like, I thought they were about to get killed by these horrors. Yeah, their name is literally Horror. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, the main girl, her name is Isabel. Well, she introduces herself as Isabel. Mm-hmm. And she's like, hey, your guy looks pretty fucked up. I think I could help, though. Yeah. But she doesn't know, like, the thing is that she's introduced as the horrors and introduced herself, but like Alana's still not trusting them. Right. Even though they look like kids. Sure, but if a ghost came up to you and was like, hey, I can help, you'd be like, get out of here. Yeah, exactly. So how did she wanted to help Marko, like how? Like what did she use, like some magic? Yeah, so Alana wanted to, so like you said, the people from Wreath have magic, but since I think it must have been one of those situations where Marko, maybe he's too hurt where he couldn't do it on himself. Mm-hmm. So Alana was like, there has to be a spell or some type of magic that can heal him. Mm-hmm. And then, in his half-day state on the ground, he says that we need snow. Yeah, that's apparently it's the ingredient for a magic spell. Yeah. To heal him. And so Alana's like, well, where the hell are we going to find snow? We're like in the swamp. Yeah, so they're in a bit of a pickle, but Isabel tells them that there is a spot that she can take them that has snow. Yeah. So that's where they're headed. It cuts after that over to Prince Robot, and he's still looking for the couple, Marko and Alana. Yeah. And he goes to the prison that they came from, that they escaped from.
Yeah.
And finds basically he's trying to find any
evidence, any clues.
Yeah, and the only thing he can find is that she was a fan of reading like trashy romance novels.
Yeah.
And finds one of those novels.
Yeah.
And it's written by a guy named Oswald Heist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, the kind of novel you'd pick up at a grocery store with like Fabio or whoever's relevant
shirtless man with long hair in the wind.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all he finds, and that's kind of what he's basing his whole hunch on.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, this is what I got. How am I going to use this
to find them?
To find them. That's his little cutaway, and then we get back to Alana and Marko heading up some precarious-looking mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to find snow.
Yeah, so Alana is following Isabel, who, by the way, she's just like a regular girl. Like, the way she talks.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She uses slang and curses.
Yeah.
And a little immature.
Yeah.
But she has some nuggets of wisdom in there. I mean, she's dead, so she's like kind of eternal. You think she probably has some wisdom. So they have to go, they go up the mountain, they go inside of a cave, hoping that, I guess within that cave, they can find some snow.
Find the magic,
get to a place for the snow.
And so Isabel, she like makes a proposition to Alana. She's like, I want to get off of this planet, and I do want to help you guys, but since I died here, my body is like bound, or my spirit is bound here. Mm-hmm. So to leave, I would need to spirit bond with a native.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's like she has to be like bound with somebody to be able to like go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like you have to like shadow that person.
Yeah.
Alana's not having that at first, but when you're with a baby that was just born, running from armies chasing you.
Yeah, like 2 whole armies.
And your baby daddy is like incapacitated.
Yeah.
And you guys are literally carrying him.
Yeah.
You're going to agree to things that you may not normally agree to.
Right.
She's pretty hesitant, but she does.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like I said, it has to be a native. So when Isabel asks her, Alana's like, oh, well, I wasn't born here. And Isabel was like, well, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Hazel, the baby.
Yeah. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like you said, Alana doesn't really have a choice because Marko's literally bleeding out as they're talking. So she agrees, and Isabel soul bonds.
Whatever that means. Yeah, because at that point, you have no idea what it really means. But, Hazel herself even describes Isabel as her first babysitter. Yeah. So you can kind of get a taste from her narration, like, what that relationship will be. Yeah. So they do the bonding. They get on a boat.
Some magic boat
in this cave. And we get a bit of a revelation here. We get a revelation here about another character that we'll see later on in the story. Yeah. While Marko's incapacitated and he's like...
mumbling. And
he's mumbling in his like sleep or whatever. Yeah. And he says, oh, I got to protect... What does he say? I have to protect my wife or something? My bride. And then... Alana's like, oh, he's worried, he's thinking about me and thinks we're going to get married, yada, yada. And then he says, please tell Gwendolyn that I love her. Yeah. And Gwendolyn is not Alana. Yeah. It's not her middle name. It's not her nickname. So.
And one of my favorite panels in the whole book is just a close up on Alana's face, and she's like, "Who the fuck is Gwendolyn?"
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate response for when you hear that. Granted, he was incapacitated. He's not saying it willingly, but yeah, it's an appropriate response. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where that issue ends. They're still on their way to get that snow. They're on this boat. Isabel bonded. Shit's getting wild. We cut back to the will.
The will. Okay, so we skipped a little thing earlier. Oh, yeah, so when the will, he gets contracted to hunt Alana and Marko. Mm-hmm. They run into the Stalk, who must have also been contracted to hunt them. The Stalk had called the will to ask if they wanted to pair up.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
And so when he answers the phone, he's like auto pissed, and you're like, why is he angry already? Like, she hasn't even asked him anything. But you can tell from their conversation that they definitely were like lovers in the past, and it ended badly. There's some beef.
History.
Yeah, there's some beef there. So when she just calls him up and is like, hey, do you want to like team up to find this couple? He's like, no, I don't want to work with you. Later, and just hangs up on her.
Yeah, and he realizes that he was like, okay, so if the Stalk is already contracted to do this same mission.
Yeah.
She's way better than me.
Yeah.
She's got 6 more arms than me. That she'll get the job done way before I could do anything.
Yeah.
So let me take this company credit card.
Yeah.
That
has like no limit.
Yeah, that has no limit. That's what they gave him to finish his job. I'm just gonna go to have fun and spend that money. And where he chooses to go is the place called Sextillion.
Sextillion, a literal sex planet.
Yeah, it's like a brothel planet.
Yeah.
With every possible thing you can think of. And they show it. Once again, it's the same as before. They're going to show a lot, so be prepared for that. He goes there. He's, seemingly trying to unwind.
Yeah.
He's like just trying to live loose.
Yeah.
While he doesn't have to work because he knows the stock is going to finish the mission anyway.
Yeah.
And when he's in there, what is it? The guy who runs a certain part of the...
Yeah, like whatever... What do you even call it? Like a hostel or whatever? Yeah. The owner of whatever building...
brothel thing,
Yeah, he went to was like, oh man, I got something special for you.
Yeah, because he can tell he doesn't look really excited or... He's not getting turned on by anything he's seen.
Yeah. So
the guy points him out and is like, hey, I got something for you since you seem like you need something more intense. So
yeah.
Yeah,
and so the Will was like, well, I mean, I'm down, so whatever. So he follows the dude who goes and knocks on a door and was like, hey, come on out or whatever. And so then he opens the door and you're thinking it's going to be like, they're on a sex planet. So you're like, oh, it's going to be like some prostitute, some alien that's got like 6 titties or something.
Yeah. I was literally about to say chick with multiple, 3, 4, 5 boobs. You went 6. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But so he opens the door and it's a little girl comes out.
Yeah, it's a legit little girl. It's not like
not a short woman. It's a little girl. Because he asks her, he was like, wait, how old are you? And she's like, oh, I just turned 6.
Yeah, and this is not a mix-up or anything. This is like what the manager was
presented to him.
Yeah, and at that moment, you don't really know the Will.
Yeah.
And he's a freelancer. He seems like he doesn't really give a shit about anything.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, oh, God.
Right.
But by the look on his face, you can tell that he's not...
Okay.
He's not okay with this. And, sure enough, he turns around and murders the guy who runs the brothel.
Yeah.
I think he, explodes his head.
Yeah.
So, he just crushes it.
Crushes his head like a watermelon.
Yeah, just fury. So he does that to protect the little girl, and I guess he's gonna try to protect her, get her out of there, rescue her from that area. So that's like its own side thing that's going on while Alana's trying to heal Marko.
Yeah.
So this book, kind of like Game of Thrones, it really jumps around all these major plot points, all crazy stuff happening. Yeah. Everything's ramping at once.
Right. So now the Will has this little girl, this literal little girl, and he's just trying to he's just trying to get off the planet, So he grabs her, and Lion Cat had to stay on the ship because they had a rule of no pets. So he's leaving, and then he gets stopped by what would you even call that? The owner of the super owner, the boss's boss, right?
I was wondering if that's the boss's boss or if she just owns specifically the girl. Right?
That's true.
Because she did kind of say hey, that's my property. So I don't know, but regardless, some type of boss there.
Yeah.
Some funky looking chick with a whip.
Yeah, and she was just you can't just leave with my property. And he was like, I mean, fuck y'all, I'm taking this little girl with me. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, she's in debt. Mm-hmm. It's almost like an indentured slave type thing.
Yeah.
Or an indentured servant type thing, where she has X amount of dollars in debt. And to take her, you'd have to pay off that debt.
Yeah, what is she takes from him the
company card.
The company card, yeah. And that's what they use. She's like, I'll confiscate this for all the damages that you've done today.
Yeah.
And he's kind of stuck. He's stuck trying to think what am I going to do about this?
He doesn't know anything about kids.
Yeah, he knows nothing about kids.
And now he has no money.
At that point, did she give up the girl? Already, was it just from getting the card that she gives up the girl, or was there with the Will, you can always assume that he probably killed somebody?
Yeah, because now that you say that, I don't remember.
Yeah, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he doesn't. I'm looking a little bit into the
further on. Yeah, I don't think he has her yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have her yet. So they take the girl back, and and confiscate
and
the
his
car.
money.
Yeah, so he's just like in a bind. He was trying to be a good guy, still couldn't even help her, and like you said, now has no money.
Yeah.
So that's where the will's at, and then I think that's where he pretty much mostly ends around that area in this issue. If we cut back to Alana and Marko, they get to an area within that cave
that had snow. They did find it.
They found the snow, and she gives it to Marko. And what did he have to do? Like,
it just like took a minute.
It just
kick in.
Oh yeah, he just had to lay in the snow.
Yeah.
If you've seen Black Panther, he had to do something similar to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Who did it first?
Who did it first? Exactly. But so yeah, he gets revived. He comes back. He's good to go, and she's immediately pissed.
Immediate. She's like, "I'm glad you're okay, but who's Gwendolyn?"
Yeah, who is Gwendolyn? He tells her that was his fiance.
Yeah,
right?
They were like high school sweethearts.
Mm-hmm. From his planet.
Yeah,
another
from
horn.
Wreath.
Yeah.
And you can tell of course she's angry, but to him he was like, well, first of all, when we first hooked up, we said that we weren't going to talk about our past. And Alana's like, well, there's a difference between random hookups and your literal high school sweetheart.
Yeah, that's deeper. Especially if you haven't like said anything about it. Or, that's how she feels. It's like you didn't even mention it.
Yeah.
He's he's walking on eggshells right now. Right after being revived.
Yeah.
He has no idea like what's going on. But at that point they leave that area with the snow, and they're trying to like descend the mountain.
Yeah.
And
to find the rocket ship forest.
Yeah, that's the thing. With this is so many detours that you kind of like get lost in there. They're trying to find the rocket ship forest, but on the way down, they get intercepted by some
by soldiers. Yeah,
by soldiers from landfall, and those are the people with the wings.
Yeah.
So that's like a whole thing, and you around that point, or maybe a little bit before, you find out that Marko like had a vow of being a pacifist.
Yeah.
So he's an awesome warrior, and he's got magic.
Like
and
he
all
has
stuff.
a nice sword that he carries, but he like made a vow. Like once he like ran away from his battalion or whatever that he was in. Like you said, he pretty much swore off violence.
Yeah,
like no matter what, violence always begets more violence. So he's done.
So they get intercepted. These soldiers come down. They're ready to kill him, take Hazel, if not kill Hazel.
Yeah.
So at that point, he decides that he's got to break that vow.
Yeah. And well, because what happens is the soldiers shoot at them, and it nicks Alana.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when he was like, oh, it's game time.
Yeah, he pulls the sword out of the sheath.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm breaking my vow because you can't do this to my family. And he goes berserk.
Yeah, just complete ape shit.
Yeah, he just like like slicing.
Yeah, smashing faces.
Yeah, he goes wild.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it like obviously he's trying to defend his family, but he goes so far overboard.
Yeah.
That when he's about to like execute a few people.
Yeah.
He gets shot in the back. And it turns out that he was shot by Alana.
Yeah.
To stop him. Yeah. Remember, it's the little ray gun that it's not very lethal, so it's
Yeah.
So yeah, but she shoots him in the back to stop him.
To
himself.
like snap him out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you go from that vow of being a pacifist. And you break that, you can go overboard on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he's doing.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting because, like you said, it's like as soon as he decides that he's going to start fighting, like not only does he go berserk, but it's like, oh, you're trying to think of how he was like in the war. It's like, oh, this dude must have been like crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
And probably that's why he swore off violence.
Yeah, he definitely had a past where he must have been like a wild savage out there in the battlefield, which is like, I mean, I guess it's good on the battlefield, but as a family man, it's not a great thing. And philosophically, he feels like ethically wrong about that. Now.
Yeah,
morally wrong.
Yeah.
So that's where he's at. Before he got to all that carnage though and killed everybody, there was a message sent out from those landfall soldiers that spotted them back to the robot empire, and that's where Prince Robot hears that the couple has been spotted.
Yeah.
So he gets word of this, and he's like, "Well, I gotta head out there, get this job done." Because remember, he's trying to finish quickly, so then he can spend time with his wife.
Yeah.
And because he just got back from a bunch of other traumatic shit.
Right. And then not to mention that en route to Cleve, he gets a phone call from his wife, and he's like, hey girl, you're not supposed to use like our military line for personal calls. And she's like, yeah, but I haven't talked to you in a while. And he was like, well, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. And then she's like, robot, I'm pregnant.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah, we're sure.
And that was like, you know, he was elated, but at the same time he just got hit with some depression because he has to do this mission first.
Yeah, he can't. His dad, the king, literally said even for the birth of his child, he can't come home until the mission is done.
Yeah, so that's even more of a drive to push him to finish this.
Yeah.
So he gets the word and he, you know, heads out.
Yeah.
Towards
Cleve.
this. Yeah, to Cleve. And so yeah, Marko kills these people. He gets shot. He gets stopped.
Yeah, and so when Alana like snaps him out of it, he kind of just uses a spell just to incapacitate them, like to tie them up until they can get rescued or whatever. And so Marko and Alana, they dip, and then not too long after they dip, the Stalk shows up and finds those soldiers tied up.
Yeah, she's actually currently on the phone with
The Will,
as she rolls up on these dead soldiers. Well, they're not all dead. They were tied up. The ones that he didn't kill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's on the phone with him, and he was the one that was trying to call her
to ask for help
to get the slave girl from Sextillion.
Yeah.
So he was trying to get her to do that. You know, she's kind of being, you know, playful, kind of scornful with him because he was, you know, he turned her down so hard last time when she asked for help.
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
So while that's going on, Prince Robot shows up.
Yeah, he rolls up.
Yeah, he rolls up on like some, you know, griffins, like they got like horses with wings. I mean, nothing is weird anymore.
Yeah.
So he rolls up and, you know, the Stalk is trying to explain that she's a freelancer. She says, I'm an independent contractor. She tries to explain that she's licensed to do this.
Yeah.
But one of the soldiers freaks out thinking that she's going to reach for a weapon.
Gun or something, yeah.
And at that moment, Prince Robot, you know, worried. He's got his own problems. He's worried about getting home to his baby.
Yeah.
He reacts quickly.
Yeah.
And shoots the Stalk.
And blasts her.
Yeah, blasts her. And this was not a ray gun.
No.
Yeah, they end the issue with like a very gratuitous shot of her laying on the floor with a giant hole in her chest.
Yeah, because if we didn't mention, Prince Robot can turn his hand into like a buster.
Yeah, it's basically a Mega Man gun.
Yeah, like a Mega Man gun.
Yeah, Mega Man, Samus, all that stuff. So he just lays it into her. She gets bopped.
Yeah, and you see the phone with the little speech coming out. It's like, hello? Stalk, are you still there?
Yeah, so the Will, he hears that. He doesn't know what's going on, but he hears the commotion and all this, and he's obviously upset. And he's shouting into the phone, and Prince Robot picks up the phone and basically tells him, like, I'm sorry to inform you, but whoever you were talking to had to get killed.
Yeah.
You know, I did it justly. I did it with, you know, being right in doing it, but I did do it. And then the Will,
not happy.
He's not happy. Yeah, he's sad, and then immediately following that sadness, there's some anger.
A lot of anger.
Yeah, so he's torn too, because he could have been helping her from the jump.
Yeah.
The Stalk did call him, and he turned her down to go to the sex planet. It's everybody. That's the thing. All the different characters that you're following, they all have crazy situations that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And even if they're on opposing sides, you can see why some of these people may choose certain actions that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the Will pretty much, he's like, well, whoever you are, I'm going to come find you and I'm going to murder you.
Yeah.
And Prince Robot is just like, okay, and just like hangs up the phone.
He's like, yeah, I'm just dealing with nothing but psychopaths.
Yeah, see you later.
Yeah, so that's where the Will ends.
Yeah,
we got a little early before it, so the Will ends with the news that the Stalk is dead, the slave girl is still enslaved.
Yeah,
his credit card is gone.
Yeah,
he's kind of lost now.
Yeah, having a bad time.
Yeah, and Alana and Marko, from escaping those soldiers, they finally get to the rocket ship
forest.
They finally get to the rocket ship forest that is burned down.
Yeah. So they get there and they're like, oh my god, we literally traversed a whole planet to get to a forest that's destroyed. And Isabel was like, she just looked at them. It was like, you living people will believe anything you see. Because their whole thing with being horrors is they make projections. Like, they're completely harmless, but their whole thing is they just make projections to scare away people.
Yeah, they kind of make you, like, not really hallucinate, but they become
like almost.
Yeah, kind of like they become like creepy images and stuff.
Yeah.
To get people to like leave.
Yeah.
So apparently in the Endless Woods, well, not the Endless Woods, sorry, the Rocket Ship Forest, that's what a similar thing that they're doing there.
Mm-hmm.
They have like snuck a few of the trees away to make sure they didn't all get burned down.
Yeah.
And she reveals one of the trees.
Yeah. And it's literally what it sounds like. It looks like a rocket ship, but it's a tree.
It's just a tree with like a door looking, almost like a hobbit hole door looking thing on the front. And before they can get in, Isabel tells them that they need to make a sacrifice.
Yeah, that would power the ship.
Yeah, that it's, part of the magic of it all is that you got to make a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Marko puts up his family sword, which was a sword that he used earlier, and
he's like been in their family for generations, but he's like, we have to make a significant sacrifice to get off of this planet, and I'm not willing to sacrifice anything else, so see a sword.
Yeah, and he ties it into his passivity where
his vow.
Yeah, he says that for as long as I have a weapon, I'll find a reason to justify using it.
Mm-hmm.
So he says I have to leave it behind, or I'm gonna end up using it again.
Yeah.
So they're down a sword. He literally breaks the sword.
Yeah.
And leaves it behind. He brings the hilt with him, but he leaves the blade behind. He's down a sword, but they're not completely defenseless because Alana says she's not giving up her ray gun for no reason.
No, for nobody.
Yeah, so the sacrifice is enough.
Yeah, like the door opens and it lets them in. They go in, there's like a whole foyer. They're like, is this a tree or is this a house?
Yeah, it's basically like a dope house.
Yeah.
That they go into the foyer, and apparently, like the ship, like there's a noise, and they think,
it's like rumbling.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're getting attacked again! We just got to the ship," and apparently that's the ship starting.
Yeah,
it just goes by itself, like you don't even fly it.
Yeah.
You just kind of ride it to where it's going to end up going.
Yeah.
So,
but it is up for suggestions of where to go.
Oh yeah. So you can suggest it. Okay. So everything is like living and stuff, and has like little magic-y reasons for how they work.
Yeah.
The tree's no exception. So it starts going off.
Yeah. So like they take off. They're flying, and they're getting settled down. Mm-hmm. They got Hazel to sleep. Alana's taking a shower. Having a good old time, and then like the lights go out and they're like, what's going on? And Isabel was like, oh, it's like detecting magic. Yeah,
it's like reverse photosynthesis is the way that the trees communicate with each other, something like that.
Yeah, and so it's pretty much alerting them that there's magic incoming. And they're like, but I thought we got away from the planet. Like, I thought we got away from the armies or whatever. And then, like, a portal just opens and two people come out of this portal. And they're like, oh, my God, are we about to get bopped?
Yeah, they're both donned in armor, got swords, and they're speaking in a language that we can't understand.
Yeah.
And but Marko is talking to them, or trying to talk to them as they're in mid-push, mid-attack.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody gets significantly hurt there, but they're in mid-attack. He's trying to calm them down. He's showing them Hazel, saying something. We can't see what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then it turns out like the people attacking stop. And they're like, Marko?
Yeah.
And they take their helmets off, and it's his parents.
Yep, turns out to be his parents.
Yeah, his parents show up, and Hazel, in her narration, comments about that's the first time that her grandparents visited.
Yeah.
So they're there angry. Apparently they got there by tracking the hilt of the sword. Mm-hmm. That by breaking it kind of like, I guess they could track
like where they were, I guess.
They knew what was going on, so they must, his parents must have thought that he was in trouble, so they came to help him. But yeah, so that they had no idea what was going on. Now they're on this ship, with them careening off to wherever they're gonna go.
Yeah,
trying to escape everyone, freelancers, robots.
Yeah,
just
wars,
death, everything.
Yeah. One cool thing about the parents showing up is whenever people are talking like other languages, the script is different and it's a different color.
Yeah.
So like usually, your script is like your normal whatever font and it's black, but when the grandparents show up, it's blue and it's kind of like cursive-y.
Yeah, it's cursive-y. It's got like weird symbols, and it's like the way it's written is really similar to like a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of French, like the way, but obviously like it's just his own language.
Yeah, it's a fake language.
Yeah, so that's where Alana, Marko, and Hazel end up at the end of this issue is on that ship. They've escaped, and the grandparents show up, and they're just trying to figure out what they're going to do next and how to, like, you know, live their life.
Yeah, how to survive.
Yeah, without having to fight or deal with anything like the robots.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where they end up. We talked about where the Will ends up, and then Prince Robot the same. That's where he ended up.
On Cleve.
On Cleve, killed the Stalk, and he's got an idea. He's thinking about, like, how can I figure out where they're going, and the only thing he can go by is that book, and he reads the little author description, and in the author description it says that author is on a planet named Quietus, and he's like, well, let's give it a shot. Yeah. And we find out that Alana and Marko talked about going there too. Yeah. So that was one of their last conversations in this issue. So trouble's ahead. Yeah. If Prince
They're both headed to the same planet.
Yeah, if Prince Robot shows up there, trouble's ahead, because we saw what he did to the Stalk.
Yeah, she did not have a good time.
Yeah, and just how Alana and Marko are motivated by their new baby, he's motivated by his new baby coming. Yeah. So
he means business.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tragic. Even at the start, it's already getting pretty tragic just from the setups. Yeah. But it's fun, really, really creative, interesting, unique, you know. Yeah. You never seen anything like this.
Yeah. Like, story-wise and also art-wise, like, Fiona Staples, she does such an incredible job illustrating. It's like she just has a very, like, identifiable art style. Yeah. You know, kind of like those heavy lines, bright colors. She's really good at, like, juxtaposition, like, between, like, panels and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a treat, like, story-wise, visually, everything.
Yeah, everything. And once you read the first issue, you'll be hooked. At least in my opinion, that's how it worked for us. And, and you're just constantly being driven by, like, the characters themselves and what they go through. Yeah. The overarching plot and what they're dealing with is, you know, great within its own right, but to me it's the character driven stuff that's the best. Yeah. Each individual person and their trauma, the relationship with others that they deal with, even the relationship with enemies. Yeah. It's like it goes really deep. Yeah. And if that's your thing, like, you got to give Saga a shot, in my opinion. Yeah. But I mean, that seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, that was the end of the book.
Yeah, we got through it all.
Volume 1.
Yep. You got what? If you read that, you got 8 more. Yeah. And then once you get to those 8, then you got a whole nother thing coming out that's still, you know, hasn't even come out yet, right?
Yeah, not yet. So, I think it's supposed to, I want to say early 2020 it's supposed to come out.
So yeah, early 2020, be on the lookout for that. But before you're on the lookout for that, you gotta start here. Yes. It's definitely not the type of thing you want to jump around on. It's one continuous story.
Yeah, you have to read it in order.
Yeah, so
it's not Dragon Ball Z where you can just, like, skip half an arc and be okay.
Yeah, it's like more or less like it's no filler or anything. Yeah. Everything is like leading to something else. Yeah. So give it a shot. There's no reason to not read the first one, at least.
At least.
Yeah. You can find it anywhere.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I know in my last episode I talked about Kindle Unlimited, which is like, it's like a Kindle service where you pay however much a month and they have, like, their own library that you can borrow books from. Yeah. The first issue is on there. So you can read it if you can sign up for, like, a 30-day trial, read the whole first issue if you're into it. You know, you can order them off of Amazon. You can go to your local comic book store.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And the real thing is like that's not an ad. That's
not sponsored.
That's not a sponsor. That's just us saying, like, hey, you got mad options to read, like, something like this or anything else. So just, like, go out there, pick it up if you're interested by this. Yeah. I'm glad you listened to us ramble about something that we love. Yeah. We haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk about it like this for a long time.
It has been a minute.
So this has been fun. I appreciate being able to be on the podcast.
Yeah. And depending on, we're probably definitely going to talk about the rest of the series.
Oh, no, yeah, you can't kick me out now. Now that I'm here, I'm here to stay. I'll be coming back for more Saga stuff, and if we talk about anything else that I've read or watched or whatever, I'll be here too. Until I am forcibly removed, I'll be around. So, thank you.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in to this episode. I'm really bad at plugging myself. Like, I'm on social media.
Do it, girl. Shine.
You know, I'm on Twitter, AWB Podcast. Look me up on Instagram, Insta, what the cool kids call it. So I hear. I'm on Facebook. Can you like me on Facebook, please? I've got like 11 likes on Facebook.
Yeah, do all the things. If no one's gonna ask about my stuff. They're here for you, but if you were gonna ask, you're out of luck, because I'm nowhere. I'm nowhere online. I don't really have anything. Maybe one day I'll have that stuff. But just look up Gabs. Look up all of her stuff. And
yeah, you'll see him.
Yeah, we'll bring more of this heat, more of this content that we're bringing to you guys.
This hot content.
Yeah. So thanks everybody.
Guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.